Hi everyone, welcome. We have Yeb here to talk to us about his incredible journeys this year and what he's doing with the People's Pilgrimage. It's really exciting to have this call happening after months of back and forth and planning and after hearing little bits by email. Over to you, Yeb, to tell us about where you've been going.
Thank you, David, and hello to everyone. It's such a pleasure for me to talk to all of you today. And this is one of those moments that I feel really enthused by the kind of support that we're getting from the pilgrimage for the pilgrimage since we began in May. And just to outline what we've been doing since we left my hometown in Tacloban on May 17th early this year. We've been to so many places around the world, and many of you perhaps already know that the People's Pilgrimage is a very special journey, a journey that we have embarked on that involves a series of walks from various places in various places around the world, but mainly those that show a lot of spiritual significance, but also those that are being affected profoundly by the climate crisis. And so we've been to the South Pacific, meeting people there from Vanuatu, Tuvalu, Solomon Islands, Kiribati. It's been an intense experience listening to their stories. We've been to Sydney, meeting people there who are very active in the religious community, also joining us in the larger climate campaign. And I went to the heart of the Great Barrier Reef in Queensland, also to express our solidarity with those who are there and in their own journey fighting against development aggression and basically standing together to prevent dumping in the Great Barrier Reef. After that, I found myself communing with young leaders in Rome when we convened over 100 religious young leaders in Rome for a convergence conference. And there we met so many promising leaders who are very active in their own communities in the field of in various fields, but have been doing a lot over the years on climate change. And most recently, I've had this great privilege and the honor of being able to travel through India, walking in ancient cities, and meeting different kinds of people from all walks of life, but with the India experience, it was a very spiritually enriching time for me, going to holy sites and to areas affected by cyclones, and also visiting the largest solar park in Asia, which is in the state of Gujarat. These are just some of the things that we have been witnessing throughout the past few months in this journey we call the People's Pilgrimage. And I, of course, am very happy to join this web conversation today. To tell you more about that, I would welcome any questions that you may have, and we would like to invite you to be part of this journey. And this opportunity today is exactly that chance for all of us to level off on what everyone can do to be part of this. David?
Okay, thanks, Yeb. We have set up with the Google Hangout that you can type your questions in and they'll appear in the Q&A panel for Yeb to answer. But I'll kick it off. Yeb, you know I'm from New Zealand, so obviously the Pacific is a special place for me. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about the most striking things you saw in your visit to Kiribati.
Well, when we went to the Pacific Islands, it was indeed a, an experience that shows us the profound impacts that the region is facing when we talk about the extreme adverse effects of climate change. When we went there, they were barely a few months reeling from the effects of Cyclone Pam, which is for the people of the Pacific, especially those countries that were affected, where was the strongest ever cyclone that they've ever experienced in their lives. And as it was encouraging to see them pick up the pieces and get back on their feet, it was still very evident that they were traumatized by the cyclone. And the the moment when we were there, it was an experience that will always be etched in my memory, because in that meeting with all of those Pacific Islanders, a lot of tears were shed. They were crying as they related the harrowing stories that they experienced during Cyclone Pam.
What comes next for you in the pilgrimage?
Well, David, as in every pilgrimage, planning for a journey like this is always a complex undertaking. And I am supposed to be in Africa soon enough, but things are fluid. And yeah, by plan, by intent, I should be joining this Pan-African bicycle caravan on climate change that already started on August 29th. This is organized by the ACT Alliance, and I'm excited to join the bicycle caravan that's happening for over a few months, and to join them for a brief leg of the bicycle caravan in Africa. I'm sure would be such a fantastic experience, being able to meet all of those communities in those countries, which include Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, and I think the caravan would end up in Kenya. So that is where I'm supposed to go from here. Also, we know that Pope Francis is visiting the United States for a series of events. They're very important events that also include his address at the U.S. Congress and also at the UN General Assembly. I intend to be there, and that is also the plan. But by September 30, which is just a few weeks away, together with a handful of pilgrims, we will start our walk from Rome to Paris in a 1,500-kilometer march that would get us walking through Assisi, the Tuscany region, over the Italian Alps, and into Geneva, into the central part of Paris, and then arriving in Paris near the end of November. That's what I see on my calendar now, David.
So that's Africa, hopefully, perhaps a visit to the US for the General Assembly. And for those who are watching, we, with Fast for the Climate, are working with Yeb and the Our Voices team to run events all over the world in the Great Light the Way mobilization the night before the Pope speaks to the General Assembly. So please stay tuned with our emails to see how you can join in with that. But Yeb, tell me more about how the preparations are going for the last of the pilgrimages this year, from Rome to Paris.
Yes, it is. It is, of course, by no means a walk in the park. It is a grueling 1,500-kilometer journey on foot, mainly over rough and rugged terrain, also at the start of winter. So we have been training a lot, doing a lot of walking, and also trying to acclimatize in the cooler regions wherever we are walking, and also preparing logistically with enough gear, but not too much, because we know that we can only carry so much stuff on our backs. Remember, we are walking almost the entire way, and we will have to rely on our own 2 feet to get there, and with our shoulders to carry the gear that will allow us to survive from Rome to Paris in what we estimate would be a journey over 60 days at the very least.
Sounds like an incredible journey. How many people do you think will join you on that pilgrimage?
Oh, as to how many people will join us, in fact, we have yet to see that. But if we do have a core group of 26 pilgrims, 26 because 1,500 kilometers times 26 is the circumference of the world. And so all of us, 26 of us walking from Rome to Paris would be equivalent to walking once around the globe. But based on what we are gathering so far in some of the messages we're receiving from different organizations, even personal messages on social media, a lot of people intend to join us on every leg, while not too many people will embark on the entirety of the journey. It is very certain that and safe to say that hundreds to even thousands of people will be walking with us as we trek from Italy to Switzerland to France.
So, how can other people join you in this pilgrimage? What makes this the people's pilgrimage?
Oh yeah, this is first and foremost called the People's Pilgrimage. I'd like to emphasize this well enough. It is not Yeb Saño's pilgrimage, as we hear often, but I'm honored that this is attributed to our efforts. But this is everybody's journey, and all of you are welcome to join or embark on your own journey, whether from Rome to Paris if you want, for some or all of the way. But you can also embark on your own pilgrimage in your own little way, in your own town, in your own village, or in your own community. It can be a few hundred meters through several blocks with a few people, or it can be an entire community, and it can be across a continent if you want. You design your own adventure, but what's important is that we are all connected in this whole journey, and that we stand together as we embark on a journey that we hope can change the future of the world, and that we together doing this so we can rewrite history and confront climate change head on by building a global movement together with all of the fantastic and amazing efforts that are happening, including Fast for the Climate and many other campaigns happening towards Paris, but also beyond Paris. So anyone, anywhere in the world, whether you're alone or you're in a group, you can embark on your pilgrimage. It can be a place you love. It can be from one landmark to another. It can be a church or a holy site. But what we would like you to do also is to tell your story, because it's not enough that you embark on that journey or take those steps. As every step counts in this whole pilgrimage, it's also important that you become part of the narrative. And if you go to the digital platform of the People's Pilgrimage, which is on peoplespilgrimage.org, you can see a button there, and I think we can show that website later in this conversation. It's so easy for you to do that. You click that button that says add your pilgrimage, and you can put a title, you can upload a picture of your journey, and put some tags and keywords, and also type in the location of your pilgrimage, and the platform called Timescape would automatically locate would search. You would do a search of your location, and that would add a dot on the People's Pilgrimage map, and that would show the whole world that there's so many of us on this journey together, and we're changing the way that we confront the climate issue.
Before we have another look at that website, we've got a question here, the first question from someone in our audience. A guy named Paul has asked if there's a place in the Fast for the Climate movement for a group of people to fast and pray for the downfall of specific companies. I guess he's asking about how our positive, hopeful movement interacts with the fossil fuel lobbies and the forces that are wedded so deeply to the status quo. What do you think about that, Yeb?
Well, I'd answer that from a very personal perspective. So let it just be clear that there are just a wide range of views that are all legitimate when we look at an issue like this. But I personally support the call for divestment from away from fossil fuels. I also personally support the transition to 100% renewables, because I believe that it is possible, and if that I think strongly entails dismantling the current both the current global economic order, which is anchored and based on the fossil fuel infrastructure. That has to change, and it has to change fast if we are to honestly and sincerely be able to confront the climate crisis. It is something that must be done at a very fast pace, and at a scale that's, I think, should be equivalent to the scale of the first industrial revolution. So it will take a lot of effort. It's easier said than done, but with this kind of movement building that's happening all over the world, I do sense an awakening happening all over the world. People are standing up for what is right. People are speaking up, and the churches, religious organizations, universities, they are removing their investments from dirty fossil fuel energy and reinvesting that into clean energy. So it is very encouraging to see all of this, and indeed, it will be very important for us to embrace the paradigm that another world is possible.
You mentioned divestment as a good way forward, and it's been especially exciting for Fast for the Climate as a movement this year to have one of our key partners, the Lutheran World Federation, put out a call to its churches in over 100 countries that they should divest from fossil fuel investments. So we are making some big steps forward. But Yeb, I was wondering if you might want to talk a little bit more about, or perhaps if I can help direct people through the website, about how our fasters can add their fasting to the People's Pilgrimage platform.
Yes, so David, I would assume that you would put out the website.
Yes, it should be, if Google is working right, now shared with everyone, and they can see what I can see on the website.
Yes, so this collaboration between our voices, which is running the People's Pilgrimage, and Fast for the Climate, is an exciting partnership, because as you can see, if you can see it on the website of the People's Pilgrimage, when you add your pilgrimage there, you will see those dots being added to the map, to the globe there, and with this collaboration with Fast for the Climate, you can use a tag for first, you can use a tag for fasting, but also I understand there is for those who are fasting also, that is also part of the journey. And so all of those people out there who are joining the fast, not just every first of the month, but on any day that they feel they would like to fast for the climate, you can add that pilgrimage as a fast event. And so let's populate this globe with all of those journeys, and everybody who has been supporting the Fast for the Climate, I invite you to add your journey here on this fantastic storytelling platform on the website.
And so then their journeys or their fasts will show on this world map, showing how we've had our 365-day chain of fasting from Lima, where last year's climate talks were, up into North America, down across the Pacific through New Zealand, where I am, Australia, Papua New Guinea, other Pacific island states, through Asia, to Africa, where we are now, with fasters moving through every county in Kenya and elsewhere in Africa, and finally starting from next month into Europe. So we'll be able to show on this map the fasting journey, the fasting pilgrimage from Lima to Paris, and show all our journeys in solidarity and support with Yeb's.
Yes, indeed. So if you have that faster, or if you're a faster, if you're embarking on the fast as part of the journey, that will appear as a Fast for the Climate marker. We will also encourage you to tell everyone that this map, we'd like to tell you that this map, if you show it and when people see it, it becomes really a powerful way to manifest that 365 days of fasting. And that should automatically, obviously, be 365 more dots on this world map.
And if you're not comfortable sharing what you're doing on the website itself, you're also very welcome to share what you're doing by social media. As Yeb said in his email, it can be any journey. It doesn't matter whether it's just a few steps or an epic pilgrimage like his from Rome to Paris. You can share it using the hashtag People's Pilgrimage and help to build the momentum for this movement as we go on the road to, or more importantly perhaps, the road through Paris. We don't have any other questions from our audience yet, but I guess one question I have for you, Yeb, is what comes after Paris? What do you think the worldwide faith community and other communities calling for a just transition to a safe climate future can focus on as 2015 rolls into 2016?
Indeed, a lot of people have been asking us what happens after Paris. That's a very pertinent question. I think that's a question that we must all reflect on. But just first on the pilgrimage, while the pilgrimage would be walking from Rome to Paris, Paris is by no means the destination for this whole journey. Paris is merely really a milestone for us, and we'd like it to be a key milestone that would deliver on our aspirations for confronting and the climate crisis, and we would like to see ambition and fairness and a robust and durable agreement come out of Paris. But I'd like to emphasize that we must not look at Paris as the ultimate destination of this common journey. The ultimate destination of this common journey must be the hearts and minds of people all over the world. And that might sound like a cliche, but we take that very seriously. we cannot look at Paris as our endpoint, as our deadline. First of all, as we sit here right now, there is a very little indication that Paris could deliver the agreement that we all want, because there's very little time left. There's barely 6 negotiating days left. The pledges that have come out from every nation, every government, really pales in comparison to what is needed. So it will take a lot of effort between now and Paris to ensure that Paris lives up to our expectations. And that's why what happens after that, the journey goes on, because the journey in battling, fighting climate change is about the people taking action. I'm talking about cities, towns, churches, communities, congregations, universities, youth groups, really taking action and pushing each other to create a new parallel world where we can confront and address climate change once and for all. So while we put a lot of hope into what our leaders and governments can do, we must realize that the real power resides in the hands of people when it comes to changing the world, and embarking on this journey requires all of us to realize and recognize that the only way that the climate crisis can be solved is if all people around the world are empowered, and in order for us to achieve the transformation that we need. So the journey continues. We have no illusion that we will solve this crisis soon enough, but standing together and finding solutions, we can make that happen slowly, gradually. It will be painful, and it would not be easy, but we know that it can be done. And while our faith in politicians is becoming scarce, our faith in humanity remains, and we believe that humanity has the ability to find the solution.
You've talked about your faith in humanity remaining. How did you find meeting those 100 young faith climate leaders in Rome a few months ago? Did that help to strengthen your faith in the power of our common humanity?
Well, it's great. It's great that you mentioned the over 100 leaders who gathered in Rome near the end of June to actually march in the streets of Rome towards the St. Peter's Square to support the encyclical of Pope Francis, but also these young people, these young leaders who went to Rome, representing a wide range of spiritual traditions and also different cultures, just gives us so much hope that we can endure, and that we can transcend this whole problem, because there are so many people around the world like these young leaders who are already embarking on their own journeys and standing up for what is right, and speaking up, and also showing us the way with on projects at the grassroots level, whether it's building resilience, or changing the energy infrastructure, or combating poverty and injustice in their own little ways. We have these people to take inspiration from, and it has truly been an honor for me to be walking with them, both literally and figuratively. And they are and many people like you in the Fast for the Climate and in the International Youth Climate Movement, and are hugely inspiring, and give us a lot of hope for the future. And all of you form the basis, the foundation of this whole climate movement that is truly proving to be a force to reckon with. And I cannot wait to see what this whole youth movement can do for the betterment of our societies.
Wow, thanks, Yeb. And I know that a lot of people in the youth climate movement have been inspired by your fast in Warsaw, your activism and resilience in Doha, and your journey since with the People's Pilgrimage. For those who might have joined the call late, if you have any last questions, just as we're wrapping up, you can type them in and Yeb will be able to answer them. Otherwise, we've talked a bit about the People's Pilgrimage platform and how you can add your fasting journeys to the pilgrimage. So just to show you one last time, if you go to the People's Pilgrimage website, which you can see up on the, should be able to see up on the screen now, you can click the Add Your Pilgrimage button, and there's a filter for fasting pilgrimages where you can show what you're doing as part of Fast for the Climate. Okay, I think that's it. We don't have any more questions, Yeb. Thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful to hear about your journey. And I really look forward to seeing you in Paris, if not before.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. I do look forward to walking with all of you.
Thanks, Yeb, and thanks to everyone else who joined us. Have a wonderful day, or as it is here, have a wonderful night. Bye all.